Ways that have stepped into the squared circle and made this beautiful continent of ours great. And of course, we will continue celebrating those as we move on to the month of June, which of course is the month of youth. So we'll be focusing more on the younger boxers. Welcome to it. This is the TKO Nakikwena Marara Moabelo. As we always do on the show, as to exactly what happened on this day in history. Let's take you back 69 years since a 22-year-old South African boxing legend, Toweel, beat Mexican-American Manuel Ortiz, who was considered one of the great champions on points for the world bantamweight title. This happened at the Wembley Stadium in Johannesburg, right here in South Africa. He went on to become the undisputed bantamweight champion of the world. He became the first South African to hold a world championship in boxing. So we celebrate him, and today we're putting a little bit of twist on it. Well, Uncle Vic is not here with us, but we've got his nephew, Alan Toweel. Good evening, Alan.
Good evening.
Are you well?
Well, thank you.
Great stuff. Just take us back, if you can, to your memories of Toweel. We know him, we know the history, we celebrate him, but this is a man that you knew firsthand, who probably once upon a time maybe punched you a bit for doing something naughty.
Yeah, my Uncle Vic was, like you say, South Africa's first undisputed world champion. Until today, he's the only undisputed world champion we've had. He's been a very humble man. He was a humble man, down to earth, hard working. He never enjoyed the game of boxing towards the end of his career. And he had about 34 fights, 28 wins. 28 wins. And he wanted to get out of the game.
3 losses.
Yeah, 3 losses.
14 knockouts. Yes.
Yeah. And he had a remarkable career. Out of 300 amateur fights, he had only lost 2 fights. He went on to win the South African bantamweight in his 4th fight title. He won the South African featherweight in his 9th fight title. He won the Commonwealth title in his 11th fight, and then the 14th fight, they won the World Bantamweight Championship. And in those days, in the 50s, when boxing was at its helm, it was unusual for a guy to have a few fights and win a world title, because on average, fighters those days would fight 50 to 60 to 70 fights before they get a shot at a world title. So it was quite a remarkable
and of course, relatively a young man who stepped into the boxing world and really conquered it. What do you think made him? Is it something that was in the family? I know you're still involved in boxing yourself. So is it like a family tradition where you guys just loved this noble art of
pugilism? It started from my grandfather.
Yeah.
My grandfather, Mike Toweel. He trained the 1948 Olympic team. And then he trained his Vic was part of that team.
Okay.
Then he trained his son, South Africa's. He trained his son for the world title. So it originated from my grandfather to my Uncle Vic, South Africa's first world champion, to my Uncle Willie, who drew for the world bantamweight champion 5 years later in the same weight division, right? To my dad training my Uncle Willie, my dad becoming the top trainer, training the likes of Khedi Kutsia, Pierre Kutser, my Uncle Willie training the likes of Brian Mitchell, Pete Krause for the WBA world title, and so forth.
So there's
just a family.
So you had no chance. You had to learn in boxing yourself.
We were born into it.
Yeah,
we were born into it.
And maybe, as you say, a humble man, a great. In those days, I mean, what was it like to have somebody who was celebrated, or did he get the recognition being celebrated back in the days as a great champion?
Well, from the stories that you would hear from my father and my grandfather, it was a massive thing to become actually probably the top sports story of that era for South Africa. And for my humble family, Lebanese family, down to earth, it was a big thing for them. So every time he fought, it was a massive celebration. Each time he won, it was a massive celebration. My grandmother would have about 300 to 400 guests in their house after he defended his title successfully. It was just an ongoing. It was an unusual thing for a small family out of nowhere to have a world champion and an undisputed world champion.
Let's maybe take it down, as you say. This is something that has been going down generation by generation. Why didn't you box?
Well, I had a few what they call gym fights, and then
those don't count. Yeah. That's what me and Bomani do every time. Those don't count.
But I learned the trade from my father.
Sure.
He didn't want me to fight. You see. He wanted me to learn how to manage and train.
Sure.
So I went with him all over the world, to Las Vegas, to Chicago, to England. And we met up with some of the top trainers there, like Angela Dundee, Eddie Fudge. And that's how we learned our trade. You see.
Yeah.
My father taught me everything. He was really a historian of boxing. And that's where I learned my trade from him.
Yeah.
And he learned from his father.
Yeah, so right now, as Alan Toweel, what's your involvement? You're a trainer, manager. You're training champions.
Yes.
Throw a few names at us.
Kani Puzi, WBA Pan-African champion. Jeff Magagani, WBA Pan-African featherweight champion. Justice League is number 1 in South Africa. He's going to fight for the SA title soon. Mangile Yangani fighting for the SADC ABU title soon. My light heavyweight number 1, Frank Rodriguez, who will challenge for the SA light heavyweight title. So we just.
I was expecting to hear a Toweel somewhere there, but clearly not yet. Next generation. Alan, thank you very much for coming through.
Thank you.
And really honoring this great legend. As we're saying, we're celebrating African giants, and it's great to have first-hand experience, and we really appreciate you coming through and spending time with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, that is Alan Toweel as we celebrate Vic Toweel, 69 years ago, 22 years old, and went on to conquer the world. Well, let's move on now and tell you what is happening in